The journey to be happy with yourself. Kian was a young traveler who had wandered far and wide, chasing after something he could never seem to hold: happiness. He had crossed rivers, climbed mountains, studied sacred texts, listened to gurus, and even pursued success in different lands. Each step carried the hope that the next destination would finally give him what his heart longed for. And yet, no matter how far he went, a heavy sadness clung to him. Even when the sun shone brightly, he felt a shadow within, a quiet emptiness that whispered he was not enough. One day, near the silent peaks of the Himalayas, I met him. His face carried both weariness and longing. With a trembling voice, he said, "Master, I've tried everything: books, wisdom, accomplishments, but I still feel small. Everyone else seems to be moving forward. New jobs, marriages, holidays, recognition, and I remain stuck. I don't know how to be happy with myself." I listened gently and handed him a small mirror beside a pond. "Look," I said. He gazed at his reflection and whispered, "I see my face." I asked him, "And when you look at others, what do you feel?" His voice grew softer. Jealousy, fear, like I'm always missing something. I pointed to the water, where his reflection rippled with every breeze. "When the mind compares," I explained, "it is like ripples on water. You cannot see yourself clearly. Only when the water is still does the truth appear." For the first time, Kian understood. Comparison was stealing his joy. I then led him to a cave known by the villagers as Satyagriha, the Chamber of Truth. Inside, darkness surrounded us, with only a small oil lamp casting its faint light. "Sit here," I told him, "and do nothing. Just breathe." At first, he grew restless, shifting and fidgeting in discomfort. After some time, he sighed. "I feel useless. If I'm not doing something, am I worth anything?" I smiled. We have been conditioned to measure our worth by doing, by achievements, possessions, or recognition. But happiness begins not with doing, but with being. Can you sit with yourself? Not your resume, not your accomplishments, but your presence. That night, Kian wept quietly. He faced the shadows he had long avoided: childhood fears, guilt for not being perfect, the relentless pressure to succeed. And yet, in sitting with them, he realized he was still whole. His wounds did not make him broken. They simply made him human. The next morning, I brought him to a small village struck by hardship. Without hesitation, Kian began to help, lifting wooden beams to repair an old woman's roof, guiding a child's hand as he relearned to write. Hours passed, and for the first time I saw him smile. Not the polished smile for photos, but a genuine glow from within. "Why do I feel happy?" he asked, surprised. I replied, "Because you forgot to judge yourself. You simply gave." Service is not only for others, it is a mirror that reflects our own goodness back to us. Kian realized then that self-love often begins with self-forgetting, not neglect, but offering. In giving, he found freedom. Before he left, I handed him an old sealed letter, worn by time. As he unfolded it, his hands trembled. The handwriting was his own. Years earlier, in a moment of despair, he had written those words and released the letter to the wind, hoping someone would hear his pain. "How did you find this?" he whispered. "The mountain kept it," I answered softly. Tears filled his eyes as he read the confession of his younger self, lonely, broken, and yearning to be enough. "I was so weak," he murmured. I placed a hand on his shoulder. "And yet you survived. Even your weakest self carried strength. That version of you walked through the storm and brought you here." For the first time, Kian saw that his pain was not a sign of failure, but a mark of resilience. Months later, Kian returned to the mountains, but this time he was different. His steps were lighter, his eyes brighter, his presence more at peace. He no longer came as a restless seeker, but as a friend to himself. "I'm still not perfect," he admitted, "but I like who I'm becoming." I smiled. That is where true peace begins, not in perfection, but in acceptance. Kian had finally learned what so many spend their lives searching for. To be happy with yourself is not to chase an image, but to embrace your essence. You are not your possessions, your achievements, or the number of people who applaud you. You are a soul, growing, learning, falling, and rising again. When you let go of comparison, face your shadows, serve without expecting, and honor even the broken parts of yourself, you discover that happiness was never out there. It was always within. And as Kian walked away into the morning light, the mountains echoed a quiet truth for all who seek. Happiness is not something you find. It is something you choose to live, here and now, by being fully and kindly yourself.